Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review for the 20th of July, 1985. Easy for me to say. Almost said 2005. I wish. Anyway, um, 1985, and we are fast approaching the end of what's available on the network. The network has, I guess, through the first half of December of 85, but we've got over, by the end of it, probably close to 175 episodes, and I'm going to go back and fill in gaps where I can. Um, my hope is to have at least 200 episodes by that point, but we'll see. Jim Ross sits down with Jerry Reed. I don't know who Jerry Reed is, not following at the time. Don't really care who he is because he's not a guy that I think is relevant to today's fandom now, but basically he's pumping up wrestling as a major enjoyable sport. Tom Pritchard against Mike Graham. Mike Graham, the son of Eddie Graham, and relatively big deal in Florida. I think first time we've seen him here in the Mid-South area. Graham manages to crisscross with Pritchard. Pritchard gets hip tossed for his trouble, gets sent into the ropes, and Pritchard anything but happy about that. Gets Pritchard with a side headlock takeover, and I gotta grab my phone. We will be right back right after this. Again, we kind of see Pritchard continuing to go at it. I think this is the most competitive we've seen Pritchard in a bit, which I think is good to a degree. We do see Pritchard kind of grabbing the top wrist locks and going a little more aggressive that way. Mike Graham though does fight him off pretty well. Graham ducks down and hits a kind of rather sloppy drop kick, deep arm drag by Mike Graham. Graham, I think over in Florida, would not say over here. Nice back leg kick by Pritchard. Pritchard then cuts the ring off a little bit on his adversary, and there's a cutoff spot by Mike Graham. Figure four by Graham, kind of locking in on the hold and eventually getting the victory by submission. Mike Graham, I don't know how long he's here. Don't see him in the next couple of weeks. Nightmare holds a press conference. Basically, Nightmare dumping, for lack of a better term, Eddie Gilbert as a manager, replacing him with Sir Oliver Humperdinck. Not sure. I don't think this is Humperdinck's first territory. Pretty sure that's Florida. But in any event, Humperdinck out introducing the Nightmare, the North American champion, for the match he has next with Frank Lane. Again, kind of a goofy thing to be putting a champion in there with, somebody who isn't really going to challenge him, but I think to a degree it's the age-old put the champion in there to get them on TV, to make you want to see him live. Anyway, Lane gets sent off the ropes, shoulder tackles by Lane. Lane really doesn't get too far with it. Awkward attempt at a crossbody. They do not land well. Botchamania, here we come. Champion comes back up, looks angry, kind of sends his man into the buckle, locks in a Cobra clutch, ends the match really quickly, probably quicker than it was originally scheduled to end, I would imagine. Dibiase and Dr. Death up next. Tag team champions versus Reagan and Brickhouse Brown. Obviously, the tag team champions still have yet to face Dibiase and the Barbarian. I'm sorry, Jake Roberts and the Barbarian, but that's there. It's coming. Reagan and Brown, decent enough tag team, so to speak. I mean, they're kind of bouncing around, still trying to find their way. Maybe they are a little bit of a team that doesn't get too far, but they get a little further than one would expect them to get. And at the end of the day, and again, we get cutoffs, and ultimately, the tag champs are able to carry this team to a passable enough match. DiBiase comes in, hits a back elbow on Reagan. Reagan still a bit of a rookie. DiBiase gets several shots off. tries to nail him, does so pretty aggressively, assertively. Um, Williams manages to get a body slam right in the middle of the ring and gets things going in his direction. Leg drop by Williams and manages to get, uh, the ring cut off again. Dibiase and Williams have been tag team champions for a good bit of time. Backbreaker by Dibiase. Kind of a sign, though, that Mid South is lacking in tag teams for this team that hasn't been teaming for too terribly long to get a shot at the championships. A couple of backbreakers by Dibiase. The Steve Williams comes in, hits the running shot to the turnbuckles, and then we see a couple of running shots and the release, almost an Oklahoma Stampede, actually technically an Oklahoma Stampede without the release of the power slam. Irish whip by Dibiase. Dibiase with a backdrop out of the corner. Dibiase goes to the second rope on the inside, nails the man. Finally tag off to Brickhouse Brown. Brown comes in, gets a couple of shots right in the top of the head. DiBiase manages a hard clothesline, spikes Brown right on the top of his head. Does not look pretty. Power slam in an Oklahoma Stampede by Williams, and the champions are successful. Butch Reed against Mark Hawk, and Mark Hawk is a guy who ultimately is not a well-known individual for the time frame, but is relatively new here. And Reed, of course, trying to come back from a bit of a hiatus, a couple of months anyway. I think they're going to program him primarily as a babyface this go round, and but who knows? Maybe not. I mean, I know they left him as that, and he comes back kind of as a major name they're bringing back. I know this is part of the national expansion, which also has something to do with the motives here, and without a doubt, this new enhancement talent gets overpowered by Reed early. Reed, former multi-time tag team champion, former North American champion, hits a couple of back elbows and some knee lifts. Reed, obviously, the guy who takes over a bit there, and a big body slam, and ultimately, gets cinched up, and again, front face lock. Reed tries to use muscle and power to take over, doesn't get all he wants. Hawk gets double chopped right on the nape of the neck, couple of punches, and Reed takes him down. Big back body drop. And Reed is looking very good, manages to get a victory there. And then we go to the Bounty Hunters against Nicholas and Cooley. Bounty Hunters, relatively new tag team, brother tag team. I don't think they last very long. They're here, but they're not, I don't remember them being treated as major stars. Big barrel-chested guys, probably both over 300 pounds, and being that I don't know who they are, Cooley manages to move out of the way, hits them with a couple of shots. The Bounty Hunters are pretty identical twin-looking fellows. They might very well be twins. That I do not know. I do know their offense is extremely basic. Front face locks, punches, kicks, and the like. Use of power moves to kind of pull up the enhancement talent. Enhancement talent gets taken back to their corner several times, and the matches break down into simple stuff. We see a slingshot into a clothesline, into a pinning combination. Match is ugly as all heck, but the guys are big and certainly watts from occasion to occasion. Does like bigger guys. Jake Roberts and the Barbarian versus Clark and the Raider. Again, Jake and the Barbarian certainly want their tag team championships, or what they perceive to be their championships. Roberts, kind of gets in there, shoots a short knee lift, and manages to get an advantage early down on the man, and kind of stays on him, tags into the Barbarian with some brawling. manages a body slam or two, and really overpowers the Red Raider, tags off to his opponent. Clark comes in and he doesn't fare any better. Barbarian fresh slams him overhead, manages to dominate him pretty well. Barbarian goes to the second rope on the inside, manages a second rope elbow drop, looks to be in the best shape of his career to this point anyway, and Jake Roberts hits the DDT 1, 2, 3. Fantastic cine music video, considered the talk of the town. Will close us out for this particular edition of Mid-South. We'll be back with the last edition of July in 1985 right after this.